think I signed away when I
First
started
day.
going here.
Yeah.
And started going to Nate. Something like
Yeah?
that.
Oh, really?
I'm just kidding.
I always put, like when we have an event where there's camera, like tomorrow, Innovation Challenge, so we. So I put a sign up saying this, and then I've had some people pull me aside and say, I can't enter. It's like, well, you know, sometimes people are in situations that they need not have their pictures around, right? Well, then I'm just very, as coach up the photographer, don't go there, it's part of the
last night.
They're sitting at the back, don't go there.
I never believed that I modeled based on the pictures that I took last night
Oh, really?
for Valentine's Day with my husband. They're I'm completely 100% sober.
Sure you are.
Gosh,
But yeah, I blame the photographer.
for sure. I would too.
Who is that, the server?
No, my friend. I was on a double date. Not some years, but just went out with our best friends and a double date for Valentine's, and I took some nice pictures of them, and apparently
Not so much the other way around. Did you guys mark your names? You did. Did you mark your name?
yes, I love Photoshop. I even Photoshop the pictures I get back from professional photographers.
For sure.
Just a couple minutes.
Should I turn on one of the lights?
Sure. I don't know which one is the front to figure it out.
Joke's on you, none of them work.
You press the hold or?
I don't know. There you go.
Is that okay on the video too?
Yes, it is. It's great. I told Garrett before we started that there was 25 people registered for in-person, so I thought we can't be at 309B. It'll be too crowded. We have to move. So we moved. I'd like to know what the other 20 people are.
Seen the change, they thought they could do online instead.
Well, it was, oh, I always have that option. I always try and make that you can come online if you need to. It's just not as good of an experience. And also for the speaker, it's kind of nice. People actually show up.
Well, I love that I was working in office today, so I just had to walk on over. I wouldn't have made it in person otherwise.
I found out always eating just during that when I'm doing virtual.
Yeah.
I'm like, because the way I have to set up, I'm always like cooking something. So I say, man, I'm hungry. I'm just gonna cook something. So it's, yeah, you're not 100% there. You're like shoving your face with dumplings.
Okay, kids. Everyone, I shouldn't call you kids. But compared to me, you know, it's all relative. We're gonna get started. For those online, please, you can use the chat for questions. I'll make sure your questions get answered. At NATE, we honor and acknowledge that the land on which we learn, work, and live is Treaty 6 territory. This place is a traditional homeland for the First Nations and Métis peoples, and today we are all part of this treaty land. The traditional name for this place is Misquachie, which we also call the city of Edmonton. Really happy to have Garrett Fleck joining us. Garrett is one of our entrepreneurs in residence and has been for like 4 years, I'm thinking. Brings great knowledge and is very helpful to our students. So Garrett's going to talk to us today about marketing strategy.
Thanks, Cecilia. Excellent. So good afternoon, everyone, and those who are online. Well, so as Cecile mentioned, we are looking at target market strategy, not necessarily the whole overall marketing strategy, but just the target markets in this case. And I guess to get started, I'll introduce myself. So I am Garrett Fleck. I'm an entrepreneur resident here at NATE, have been so for about the past 4 years now. It's my pleasure to help entrepreneurs at NATE to help grow their businesses. So if anyone inside this room does need help, let me know, or online. Feel free to give Cecile a shout, and I can definitely help you out. I also own a marketing firm here called Reputed in Edmonton. We're sort of a bespoke marketing agency. We handle clients from inception all the way till the end result, where they're starting to get conversions, and then making sure we're optimizing those conversions and go into your experience, and all those kinds of things. So that's what I do. So I guess just for time's sake, why don't we go around the room? Maybe we can, because there's only a few people here, we can introduce ourselves real quick
They're all online.
and go from there. So why don't we start maybe on this side of the room and then go around real quick and just introduce yourself and say what you do and why you're here at 8. So that's it.
I'm Ryan. I work in the business school, like administration. Through the chair of the entrepreneurship innovation.
My name is Kara, and I'm a BBA specializing in HR student here at 8.
Administration program, especially entrepreneurship innovation.
My name is Nitin. I'm in the Mighty Web Design.
Hi, I'm Adele, and I'm a first year student here thinking of business in administration marketing.
Hi, I'm Levi. Also a first year student here. I'm doing business admin for management.
Nice. Thanks, guys. Those who are online, feel free to introduce yourself. I can't see the chat, but I'm sure.
There's like 16 people online, Garrett.
Perfect. That's great. So feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. Kind of say who you are, what you are, why you're at 8. And then let's get this party started. So what are we going to cover today is going to be the question of the day. So it's going to be target market strategy. And what effectively is that? Well, it's going to be covering a few different details. It's going to be covering target markets, so who you're trying to target. And then we're going to go into how to segment your target market. Segmenting is a fancy term for splitting up your target market into various different segments. And there's a reason for that. We'll get into that later. The strategy behind that, and then the ad copy is what I've been told to discuss. We'll go a little bit quickly through the ad copy side of things. So I really want to focus on the target markets and how to segment them so you guys can help target individuals who have your business or your product or service at the right eyes at the right time. So what do you need to know? Well, understanding your target market is not a set it and forget it approach. I've been inside situations before we've pivoted from the target market that we're effectively trying to target simply because there are external factors that make that an issue. I'll touch on that a little bit later, but it's all based on sort of macroeconomic conditions. It's also based on buying decisions of those customers and just making sure that we understand that it's not always going to be correct the first time around. So you'll always have to be looking at this on an ongoing basis. And the why you need to know is because I ran into this many, many, many times before, where we're trying to have a target market and it doesn't fit. I'll give you an example of an organization who we work with, where we started as a B2C or business to consumer targeting specific individuals. I won't get into the details because of HIPAA compliance, but it was a difficult go. So we have a device that effectively was supposed to go to consumers, but it was difficult for them to understand because they had to work with a professional in order to use it. Then we pivoted to business, and that also had implications because they were working with large enterprise clients. So now we're stuck with a business to enterprise approach, which is completely different. So why you need to know this is because your target market will never be 100% correct, and you will need to pivot during your entrepreneurial journey. Make sense? So what is the target market? Anyone here want to give it a go with kind of give me your definition of a target market? Go ahead.
You plan to make products.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. So it is the target audience, target market that you're looking to tap into for potentially the individuals who are going to purchase your product and your service. That is correct. So you're kind of having to mix some hypothesis with what you're doing. But more specifically, it includes 4 different subsets. Those include geographic traits, demographic traits, psychographic traits, and behavioral traits. Very fancy words for location. Actually, we'll just hop into that real quick. So things like neighborhoods, cities, provinces, countries, etc. Where your target market is. Sometimes you will need to get to a neighborhood to do this, but in most cases, it'll typically be a city, province, or country. For the demographics, that includes things like age, gender, family size. We'll get into this and why this is important later. Life cycle and income. So age and gender are obviously very simple and straightforward to go through. And then we have family size. So the product I'm going to show you here shortly is actually dependent for sales on family sizes. Life cycles are important too. If you're getting married, you're having kids, if things are occurring inside of your life, you're actually more likely to purchase things during those life cycles. And then your income as well. So is your product or service more bespoke? Is it tailored to an audience that is a more affluential demographic? Or is it something that's going to be a price leader inside the industry or a cost-effective product or service? Now let's get into psychographics. This includes things like the social class, lifestyle, personality types. It also includes some small things regarding purchasing decisions, but you really want to understand what your target market is thinking and doing when they're going to be purchasing your product or service. So there's a few different things that go into this. We won't be touching on this too much, but I'm sure you're all well aware and can psychographic, but it's a very, very interesting area of marketing. Next is behavioral. So occasions, loyalty, purchase intent, and online purchasing. Do they purchase online? Do they not purchase online? Are they loyal to who they currently are using as a product or service? And is there an occasion that they have currently that is intended to promote that product or service from being purchased? A few different things. So that's what we'll touch on today, is those 4 different subsets. And why have a target market? Well, like I said before, you need to make sure you understand who you're targeting, because there's certain approaches that do not work and certain approaches that do work. But having a target market makes you really focused on who you're trying to sell to. If you're starting to pull Facebook ads and you're just being very general about what's happening, you're going to lose a lot of money by not having a really, really hyper-targeted target market. It also makes testing very difficult if you're testing different markets out with a more broad approach. So as I mentioned, this includes things like a focused marketing effort. So you can focus in Facebook and say, okay, great, this ad is for this specific segment. How many people purchased? Great. This other segment, how many people purchased? Great. This one's better than this one. Let's focus on the first one. So you can really focus down on your marketing efforts to figure out which channels, which audiences work best for your business or service. You also get better product development, as mentioned. So better product development in and of itself is understanding how your product is going to be used by the users at the end of the day. So if you're finding that your product and your service is a mid-tier level, but yet higher net worth individuals are purchasing it, you may want to change up the packaging to make it more bespoke or more avant-garde in a sense, so like more premium. Or you may want to lower it. So maybe it's an individual who doesn't have a high net worth who's potentially purchasing your product. So you may want to make it as easy as possible to use for that specific target market. But all of that feedback that you're going to get from your target market will help build development into your product or service. Relationships, customer relationships. The worst thing you can do is effectively have a target market say that your product sucks. That relationship is severed and they will never be a customer of yours forever, unless something changes, but you need to have that customer relationship. So if you have a low-end product, but you're targeting high net worth individuals and their perception of your product is to be a higher bespoke product, then you're going to have a terrible customer relationship because there's a gap between what you're selling versus what they believe that they're getting. So you really need to understand what that looks like so you can help build better customer relationships. And as with Google having reviews and all that good stuff, the last thing you want to have is anybody blasting your product or service on the internet. It's very detrimental to businesses nowadays, unfortunately. So why does this matter? Well, the shotgun approach doesn't work. Everyone will say, you know what, we'll just throw this out to as many people as possible, spend as much money as possible, and find that target market. But it doesn't work like that. We've tried the shotgun approach before, and it does not work at all in the slightest. And if you believe that your product or service will reach everyone or want to be purchased by everyone, I would say go back and figure out exactly who that person is going to be, because you'll spend a lot of money trying to educate a market or trying to sell into that market, but it's not the best approach. So if you don't understand the shotgun approach, how about the spaghetti on the wall approach, where you kind of just throw a bunch of spaghetti, stick it at the wall, and see what sticks? Once again, it does not work that way. So without further ado, we're going to go to markets. And I'm going to be bringing up a product here that we're going to kind of go through and discuss with regards to how I came up with the target market, and then go into the other various topics that we have. So the first question, who likes dogs? I want everybody to raise your dog. Perfect. So there's a lot of dog people in the chat. I'm assuming there's quite a bit of dog lovers, I would hope.
Oh, yes.
It's excellent. So we are going to be looking at a dog-centric product. It was actually named one of the most innovative CES of 2023 products. And it's very, very cool. I don't have one or don't use it, but I think it's kind of a cool thing to talk about. So let's talk about it. This is the Fluent Pet. Does anybody know what the Fluent Pet is? Has anybody seen it on site? You got it. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it's effectively these hexagonal panels that all interlink together, and it's different buttons that say different things. And you can actually train your dog, believe it or not, to hit these buttons and then tell the owner what it wants. So if it wants to go outside, if it wants to be fed, I'm sure most of your dogs are like, feed me, feed me, feed me, pressing the button a ton of times. But there's all kinds of different buttons that you can put on these hexagonal mats to actually converse with your dog. It engages with an app as well, so you can kind of see and get notifications if your dog does hit it while you're not around and say, hey, feed me, hey, feed me. It'll pop up onto your phone. It does a whole bunch of really, really cool stuff. And it also includes a speaker as well. So when that dog is hitting those buttons, it can actually speak to you and tell you exactly what they want immediately. So it's a pretty cool product. Does everybody understand what it is before we move forward? Who's got it? Chat's got it. Wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna get into some pretty cool stuff. So let's first talk about the geographic target market. And I'm going to be speaking specifically in Canada and not the United States. So from 2018 to 2020, the dog population grew from about 7.6 million to 7.7 million. And all the sites and sources are inside the slide itself. And I'm sure Cecile will send it over to you guys here later. But that's a lot of dogs. That's let's say there's 35 million people in Canada. So that's one in every approximately 5 people. That's a dog. That's an astounding number of dogs. And it's increasing. COVID did have a lot of play into that, where people were staying at home and they wanted to have a companion, whether it's a dog or a cat, etc. So that's why it was increasing quite a bit from 2018 to 2020. And did you know that in Quebec, pet owners are actually more likely to purchase a cat as opposed to a dog? Almost 67% to 33% difference. And the Western Canadian provinces have the reverse feeling. So they actually purchase dogs more than they purchase cats. It's a very interesting statistic that I've found. But this is why we're trying to dig into the geographic nature of this specific product, is to figure out where our specific target market is. So in this case, it looks like it's going to be Western Canada, and potentially into the Northwest Territories, but there isn't a large population, but we'll get into that here shortly. And this source is actually Pet Value Canada, so it's a very large organization who conducted the survey. So this is a dog-to-person ratio based on cities that I was able to pull some data from. But Calgary has a 1 to 12 population for dog-to-person count. Winnipeg, 1 to 13. Vancouver and Toronto, a lot less dogs per person. Do you want to know, or do you know why this is the case in large cities?
They're too busy.
Yeah, urban populace, right? So you have, let's say, a large, densely populated area, and no one wants to have a dog inside their apartment building or their condo, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll dig into that here shortly, but it's really, really good to know that the metro areas have a different dog-to-person ratio, because you would think that you want to target those areas because they have a large amount of audience and they do have dogs, but it may not be the best place for your marketing. Now, basically, as I discussed before, the rate of pet ownership is lowest amongst city dwellers. It's actually more suburban areas that will have dogs more often, simply because they have the space and the ability to have a dog. But as you can see here, populations below 100,000 are the areas that typically have more dogs than metro areas. So another thing to consider. Now let's look at some demographic details. Yeah, any guesses as to who age-wise purchases pets? Let's say Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y. Anybody have any guesses? Sorry? You look at that, millennials. So 35% of millennials actually own a dog, believe it or not. 32% for Gen X, baby boomers 27%, and builders 71 plus 6%. So this is going to give us an idea as to effective target based on age. And then this was an interesting statistic that I also found, was the highest rate of dog ownership continues to be those with a larger household size. So what we can do is we can market to individuals who have a family size that is larger than 3, 4, 5, 6, and then market to them effectively as opposed to marketing single individuals, people who don't have a larger family. Those people who do have larger families typically own dogs and are more loving to their dogs, which we'll touch on here shortly. It's a very interesting statistic. And then household income is another area where I went to. So you can see that the households that reported incomes of 55,000 or greater typically have dogs. Those that have less do not. So we would take that information, put it into the channel that we're looking to target, and say those who have an income of $55,000 or more, target them. So as you can see, we're really building a nice, tight target market at this point in time. Now, who buys more dog products, men or women? This is a very interesting statistic as well. In 2018, 86% of pet-related merchandise was done by men, interestingly enough, and 79% by women. In either case, the merchandise itself will sell regardless of who you market, but men in this case tend to purchase a little bit more often. Now, before I move on to psychographic, does anyone have any questions related to any of the previous slides? Anything in chat?
Right, yeah.
Okay, if anything, just pop up and feel free to ask. So psychographics, as I mentioned before, we want to look at individuals who are strongly attached to their dogs and love to own the dog. Strongly attached owners are those who believe price is no object when it comes to their dogs. They're the type of people who go into a pet store, they don't care what the price is for the food, they don't care what the price is for the toys, even though the dog's going to rip it up in 30 seconds after they get home, they will purchase it simply because of their love of their dog. There's also moderately attached owners, and those are the individuals who agree that price is an object, right? That they think that price itself is a problem. So effectively, they will not purchase dog toys if the price is too high. So those are people who we don't want to target because this is a more pricey product. So it's not going to appeal to the moderately or basic owners of dogs. And we can actually target these individuals based on psychographic natures. And we want to be able to target those who are strongly attached to their dogs. And then with regards to the trends, so once again, getting back to it, humanization is a huge thing inside the pet industry where you almost believe your dog is a fur baby. I know that's a commonly used term, right? We've got 2 dogs and my wife always says that they are fur babies and I agree. So we don't have kids, we have fur babies. So the people who actually describe their pet as a member of the family or as a fur baby as well are the people who we want to target and can be included inside the messaging as well. So something that we also want to look at when it comes to the psychographic nature of the target market. And 60% of millennials believe that idea is that their fur baby is a part of the family. That's a large number, a very, very large number inside the millennial population. Millennial, right? Of course, right? That's the way it works. And does anybody else here have dogs, by the way? Perfect.
I'm literally working
Fur
towards
baby.
getting a better job so I can afford a bigger house, so I can have more dogs.
Wow, see? Exactly. I'm marketing a product for them, that's great. Wait, yeah, it's awesome. Anyone in chat have dogs? I'm assuming they do.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Good stuff.
2 dogs, Andrea.
Nice, awesome. So any questions about psychographics before we hop into behavior? Okay, sounds good. So let's hop into behavior. So pet sales by channel, you would assume that through COVID and through these times that more people were going to be purchasing dog products online. It's actually the opposite in this case. As you can see here, only 13% of pet products were sold on e-commerce, 19% in grocery, 32% in pet specialty, which is effectively PetSmarts or Pet Values, etc. So brick and mortar stores. And then mass dollar stores or other clubs is about 36%. So brick and mortar, and then brick and mortar and e-commerce.
What do you call mass? Like a Walmart?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. You got it. So that would be a department store, effectively. So yeah, lots of purchasing happening, but not a lot of it in-commerce, surprisingly enough. But the question is, where do they purchase? So we pulled up some statistics from Jungle Scout, and effectively what they found was that Amazon was obviously number one. Then it was search engines, so through the shopping channels of search engines, through Google and Bing. Bing is making a comeback, by the way, don't discredit them. Their AI sounds pretty cool, so they are coming back as of today. Walmart, Facebook, YouTube, etc., and it goes down the list, and even 19% on TikTok, which I thought was very interesting as well. So a majority of the online purchases were done through Amazon. So it might not be a bad idea to list the product on Amazon simply because that's where the audience is going. And then yeah, just breaking these down. It's very simple, straightforward, and there's lots of statistics on this. So we can once again identify where our target market is looking and then advertising to them, listing our product accordingly. Now, what are the motivations to purchase online? This is another psychographic area that we like to also dig into just a little bit, and behavioral as well. But convenience is something huge when people are trying to purchase online. The easier it is for them to shop, the better off they'll be. And there's also good value due to free shipping. Nobody wanted to leave their house during COVID. It was agony to go to a pet store and want to mingle with other people. So that is why more people thought would be able to purchase online. But clearly, I guess it didn't stop some of those pet owners going in. But as you can see, various different reasons as to why people are purchasing online. And we can use this information to tailor our advertisement for you. And then we get into those changes in life. So recently moved, recently married, or worked from home. Those are three big areas when it comes to dog purchasing, believe it or not. If you've recently moved to a new place, a larger place, you tend to purchase more dogs. If you're recently married and you have a companion you spend the rest of your life with, you typically will want to have a dog. I didn't include inside here, but having kids also is definitely another trigger for people to purchase dogs. And then the work from home lifestyle, you're alone sitting at your computer for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. You want to have someone there to pet after work. Three big areas and lifestyle changes when people purchase dogs. Now, we're going to get into the segmentation here a little bit, but as we went through this, did anybody kind of get an idea as to who would be looking to purchase this product? Does everybody have a clear idea? So I'm going to go through it here shortly once again. Okay, great. So you have a target market. Let's see if they match what I have. So geographically, they're in Western Canada and they live in a suburb. That would be a place like St. Albert, Sherwood Park, the Duke, anywhere that's outside the metro area of Edmonton. So that's the demographic. Millennial, Gen Xer, quite a large family. I'd say parents, 2 kids, if not more. And then a household income over 55,000. These are all things that we can put into the various different channels, TikTok, Facebook, Google Ads, you name it, Amazon. We can push this information, all of this, into there and then target those users specifically online. If they're going to be going to brick and mortar stores, it's going to be a little bit more difficult and it would be brand awareness at that point. But from an online perspective, it's very easy to push information to these specific users online. Go ahead.
There's a question from Ash. After COVID is finally done, will people still stay with online purchases?
For sure. I think there was a huge adoption when it came to conversions online, and now it's so easy to do that people are doing it more often. Just take a look at Skip the Dishes, right? Uber Eats, etc. People are more willing to do those things now and adopt those things during COVID and are going to continue to use them in the future. A lot of people were now like, okay, COVID's over, we'll go to the restaurants and do that kind of stuff. But I guarantee that those people still skip the dishes and do Uber Eats on a very occurring basis. Great question. Anybody else have any questions?
How like the social media knows about the household income?
Yeah, so great question. There's actually an income selection area where you can say they are between this income, that income, the household income, right, is between this, that, or the other, and you can target specifically on that. Yeah, Google Ads does the same thing. I know it's creepy, but there's thousands of different data points that we can pull on people. It's pretty astounding. Any other questions? Okay, excellent. So millennial, Gen X, large family, household income over $55,000. For the second graphic, strongly attached dog owners, absolutely. And they feel as though their dog is a member of the family. You want to make sure that that is there, or else they're not going to be willing to purchase your product. And once again, strongly attached dog owners, that's a specific area that we can target as well from those channels. Behaviors, recently moved, recently married, work from home, and they purchase both online and retail. Purchase intent is another thing that you can target online too, to know whether this person does purchase online, and their online behavior is for them to make purchases online, or if they're actually willing to do brick and mortar purchases as well for more brand awareness campaigns. Highly specific stuff. We can even say someone who's recently engaged, who is recently married, who has a recent anniversary. You can do all those things and target them accordingly. Strategy. Okay, let's discuss this part. So knowing this information, you understand who to test, who to target, but how would you test these items? How could you pivot quickly? And how would you present the product to that audience? What would you guys do from an ad copy perspective? How would you market to those individuals? Any first thoughts that come to your mind?
Wait, this is what you want.
Mhm.
But I mean, someone of the seven graphics gave told us that most of the sales are happening in brick and mortar stores as of right now, and the ones that are online are happening.
Correct.
So what I would do first is try to market towards brick and mortar stores. Reason being, it's still a new product. I didn't know about it, right? So I don't know if people in the other tax brackets didn't know about it. So go to brick and mortar stores, maybe make some kind of arrangement where those who download the app scan like a coupon code or something, they get a certain percentage out of it, right? Then as it keeps getting more people, then we can now transition more into like more subscription based, like Hello Fresh was like, oh, every like 2 months or a month you get something.
Yeah, absolutely. So people who are, let's say, interested in PetSmart or frequent PetSmart would be an example. You push marketing to them specifically and then showcase the product being used or have coupon codes or various different things to show them because they were interested inside of PetSmart or were actually physically in that location. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That can also be done through Facebook. You can do targeted campaigns towards specific pet brands or identities and then market to them specifically and people who frequent those specific stores. Absolutely great idea. How about image versus video? What do you guys think?
I think video for sure. I specifically know this product because of social media influencers that use this product like on TikTok. Like this fellow called Safi that I follow. And she calls her owner a bitch all the time. It's literally how I know of this product.
Perfect. Yeah, I hope everyone heard that because that's pretty funny. They nailed it, right? So it's videos, TikTok. If you guys look at their Instagram, if you look at their TikTok, they have some incredible videos, but it's a very video-centric product. You need to show the customer how it works, right? You need to demonstrate it. And utilizing influencers is a great, aspect of that as well. So if they can effectively use your product with a larger audience, they can then build it further and further. So absolutely, yeah.
Actually shows that dogs can do it.
Exactly. Social proof. understanding that, there's testimonials there, it shows other dogs that are doing it. So if those dogs can do it, for sure mine can do it, right? That's the idea, is it brings that social proof into the mix. So absolutely, TikTok, videos, Instagram Reels, et cetera, we'll dig into that, but that's a great point. Well, that's a really good point, because it's funny because your dog is telling you effectively what you want to hear, but sometimes don't want to hear that stuff.
Videos are like, take me for a walk, take me for a walk.
Yeah,
Take me for a walk.
yeah. Feed me. Yeah, for sure. So that's awesome. That's hilarious. Yeah, so anything else to discuss before we move forward with some ad copy strategy stuff? Perfect. Great. Let's talk ad copy. Now, let's assume, once again, we're going to go video, but let's say, what would you think would resonate most with this target audience if you were going to go into a video platform like TikTok or Instagram Reels? What do you think would resonate with that audience? Connection to the dog, right? Feeling like it's a part of your family, having that type of messaging, right? What else would you assume? Assumptions. Okay, let's just dig into it then. So let's go through the do's of ad copy. This is a Fluent Pet ad that is currently out there that you can find, although I don't know if the clearance coupon code is still working. But to give you an idea as to what to do when it comes to imagery, you need to make sure you do the following. Use numerals. 20% off, clear as day, different font, as you can tell between the two different pieces of text there. It's a very meaningful headline. It does mean something to the user. They can get something off of this product. There's a specific call to action in place with use coupon code clearance that is clearly defined, and there's no other image really, or no other color like this inside the image itself, so it draws the eye to it. You expound on the advantages, so clearly discussing the advantages, making them in the forefront, emphasizing the offering, and speaking the truth. Make sure you're truthful inside of all of your marketing and advertising, but with the but in the future, and don't exaggerate, but we'll touch on that here shortly. And then know your audience. So this advertisement itself is obviously a direct-to-consumer approach because it is a clearance ad and not business to business. And just so we're aware, D2C is direct-to-consumer and B2B is business to business. Does this all make sense? Any questions about this slide? No one? Okay. Problem. Next up, we have a couple more. So we've got the Pet Connect. So this is effectively their Connect device that is a speaker, and it is a smart connected system that also goes with the app. So you can see, once again, very clear headline, very clear product placement, very, very good value prop. And the same idea here, just clear headlines, gets the idea across. A very cute picture. I believe it's an Aussie Shepherd there looking sideways. That always grabs the attention of users. Some more do's. More on the video side. Make it shareable. Make it fun. So those influencers pick it up. So they can then disseminate throughout their audiences. Get a quick aha moment. So the aha moment is effectively when the consumer or business takes a look at your product or service and says, oh, now I get it. You need to get that as quickly as possible within the first 10 seconds of whatever you're trying to message to them. So as you can see here, these videos are clearly going to be showing dogs hitting those buttons for their pet owners to speak with them. And that is a clear, quick aha moment. So you need to make sure that you have that aha moment inside your marketing copy in some respects. User-generated content is also another fantastic thing. Share that. If someone's got your product or service and they've used it, definitely share it and make sure that you're sharing it on your network as well, because that's what they did very well. With the influencer marketing side of things, you can see that they are constantly sharing their users and showcasing them to a very large audience. Very impactful stuff. And then, as Cecile mentioned, social proof. So your dog can actually do that. They can actually talk to you. It takes time. You need to train them. But yes, at the end of the day, they can. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. just throw this out there, but I think that you can based on this product. It's pretty cool stuff. And then I also have the couple links here for their Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, so you guys can take a look and see some of the videos that they have because their marketing is fantastic with this product. Some of the don'ts: don't use jargon, clear language. Never use jargon inside of your ad copy. Or cliches. Stay away from cliches. Once again, clear, concise messaging. Excessive amounts of text. Facebook, Instagram, they did have that text.
Uh-oh,
That,
it's not you.
sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Any questions while we wait?
Why should we use cliche?
Because other languages may not understand them. So you have to be very, very focused and use clear language, because if it's ESL language, they won't understand what you say in blood or stone. No one will ever understand things unless you're sure you understand the cliche. But in general, if you just don't understand it, you don't understand what you're trying to message.
Drew, can you help me? Please. I tried to press that, but
So it's coming from here.
that's not.
Sorry, buddy.
Oh, and visuals, does like the presentation somewhat matter, because you were talking about like the using numerical numbers, you know, like errors, stuff like that, right? Does that matter, like, in terms of like demographics and colors, also? So it's like this is a pet product, right? But like, you don't want to be putting like extreme, like, motorsport stuff, does that matter? Like, or is that should all?
So I agree with yours.
Back.
How to copy this into the ratios traits versus a different type of messaging for different ages, right? So older individual with to also save them time, also save them energy, also benefit them, or younger artists, it's you've ever seen. So that's what testing comes into play. We're going to slim test, medium test. Should change it for that following saw different markets. Stuff like that. Yeah, narrowing on. Yeah, because if you're just something that has the shotgun approach, it's not going to resonate with the entire audience. I'll be with you.
No, you don't have to. It's a vibrant.
There. Thank you, Drew.
Like, you look at like, when you look at people you want to market for, you have to worry about like the right people, just kind of like that's something that you worry about. When you
For sales, there's a budget. You can go all the way so you can have performance planners and stuff like that. We can actually do sale game right. Here's how much I want to spend. Here's the amount of people that send reach. Here's what the conversion rate that is. And then you can project that out with different tools. So it all depends on the different channels you can advertise and marketing with to understand how it's going to impact the dollar spend. So you can say I want to spend $500 here. Same 50, 50, 50, 50. Test it out. It's around 7. That's there's many different there's tools that can help you with that. If you want help with that, just let me know. Thanks. Got it. All right, back at it. Thank you, team, for helping out. Appreciate it. Yeah, so don't use jargon, cliches, excessive amounts of text, all that good stuff, and do not exaggerate or use the same words. You may think that your product or service is the best product in the world, and you want to exaggerate or boast about what you're doing. Please don't. Be real, be honest. It'll come through at the end of the day. The customer relationship is the biggest thing that you can have. And if you start boasting or exaggerating or anything like that, the customer will see through it and they will not use you anymore. So just make sure that you're not exaggerating what you can do as a product or service. Now we're going to wrap up here, and we got about 15 minutes-ish for questions, but at the end of the day, number one, find your target market. Number two, segment it accordingly based on what we discussed. Strategize around creating that nice piece of marketing ad copy. Figure out which channels you want to also try and target to based on the information that you have. Test it, see what's working, see what's not working. Put more money into the things that are working versus the things that aren't working, and pay where people pay attention. And then obviously adjust it if necessary. Any questions?
We almost made it to the end without the slides stopping.
Yes, sir. There you go.
Any questions online?
It's a lot to cover in a very short period of time. So I know it's like drinking through a fire hose.
Oh, looks like not. So I'm gonna thank Garrett for joining us today.
Appreciate it.
Very much, Garrett.
You?
And thank you all for coming. Always our Innovation Challenge reception. We're still accepting registration for those who want to join us. And then we changed our month-to-month financials presentation from February 28th to March 1st because Craig's father has to have open heart surgery, so we're not going to fault him for that. So it's going to be on March 1st instead. And if there's any questions, if anybody wants the slides, please email me. Just reply back to the email that I sent out today, and then I'll send them to you. I just don't want to blanket them with everybody. Thank you, Garrett.
No worries. Thanks for having me. See you guys. Does anybody work on any businesses?
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy to chat about